Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm just going to do a brief presentation on the oil industry in Canada just to kind of put numbers behind the rhetoric. Now, what you're going to basically see is a couple different slides. This first one is actually showing you oil industry in Canada. You're seeing a map here and you're seeing the drill rigs to where we actually drill for oil, whether that's the Northwest Territories, whether that's BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, down off the coast in Nova Scotia or in Newfoundland. So you're seeing the oil industry has an impact directly or indirectly to a lot of those provinces. So basically that's really what I wanted to kind of show you here with this graph. They also want to show you the magnitude of what the natural resources industry means to Canada. In general, it's over about 20%, both indirect and direct contribution to GDP. So if our GDP is $2 trillion, about 40% of that GDP, or $400 billion, is related to natural resources. Now, you can hear all the spin game going on from Thomas Mulcair and Justin Trudeau to kind of not really touch this sector, and yet this sector is very, very important and critical in terms of the overall economic growth. I don't know any other sector in this country that's going to produce the tangible benefits that the natural resources. Yes, we need to be appropriate with it, but we also need to be clear that it's vital that Canada has a right natural resource strategy. Let's talk about other areas that drive natural resources or drive the economy. I've always talked about the idea of revenue, and I always talked about that a government has to control the right policies to dictate GDP growth, which then dictates the taxation coming into a country as well as the foreign direct investment. Now there's two pieces I want to discuss here. The exports itself, which are very critical in terms of that trade surplus deficit. The more we grow our exports and have less dependent on imports, then we're going to bring down that trade deficit. And that's not something that's talked about by either Thomas Mulcair or Justin Trudeau in terms of the overall flow of trade. They talk a lot of platitudes and certain things that Harper has the wrong plan, but yet you don't have anything to conversation from the NDP on how they're going to expand exports to make sure that we bring that cash and capital into the country. The other thing there is foreign direct investment. This is the capital required to help develop natural resources in this country. Now, if Canada is bringing in significant amount of money, like close to $300 billion in foreign direct investment, that actually comes as an inflow into our balance of payments. That means it actually shows good money coming into this country that reduces the money going out. So one of the things you don't hear about that is the impact of the resource development on balance of payment, because they see, for whatever reason, Thomas Mulcair doesn't want to go into specific details on policies because it may show that he doesn't have a coherent policy for that. And Justin Trudeau is about the same way as well. He seems to talk about green energy, but he doesn't really talk about how he would handle the natural resource industry. The other point I want to take here as well is the economic impact, which is the revenue side that would drive government's taxation, which then flow through your Canadian social transfer, health transfer, direct program spending, equalization, etc. So that's just $175 billion that I took from the annual report. What I determined based on the taxation process, whether that's payroll or corporate taxes, that the government's seen an impact of the natural resources to their outflows of about 7.2%. So that transfer that you're seeing for healthcare, education that flows through the skills treatment and post-secondary school education, as well as direct program spending on defense, and is all flowing through. A good 7% of that is from natural resources. So why are Justin Trudeau and Thomas Mulcair not talking about that economic impact?